Today and picked up Richard Dawkins' The Greatest Show on Earth. I'd begun reading it, but I saw the promo material, and it is absolutely shocking. The greatest show on earth, says Dawkins, comes at a critical time, a time where there is systematic opposition to the fact of evolution, and that opposition is menacing as never before. In American schools and in schools around the world, insidious attempts are made to undermine the status of science in the classroom. Dawkins, of course, wields, from his perspective, a devastating argument against such ignorance. In other words, if you don't believe in evolution, according to Dawkins, you're wicked, stupid, insane, or worse. Not my words, but his. He says that in 1859, Charles Darwin's masterpiece on the origin of species shook society to its core. Darwin was only too aware of the storm his theory of evolution would provoke, but he surely would have raised an incredulous eyebrow at the controversy still raging a century and a half later. Evolution is accepted as scientific fact by all reputable scientists, says Dawkins, and indeed all reputable theologians. Yet millions of people continue to question its veracity. Now the author of the iconic work, The God Delusion, takes them to task. And how does he do it? He does it in his latest book, The Greatest Show on Earth. And his presupposition is that Darwinian evolution based on common descent is an established fact as reliable as the law of gravity. In other words, you can know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you are the product of common descent, that you came from monkeys. Well, even worse, maybe you came from a turnip or a banana. Surely Dawkins would not go that far, would he? Actually, he does.
Evolution is a fact. Beyond reasonable doubt, beyond serious doubt, beyond sane, informed, intelligent doubt, beyond doubt, evolution is a fact. The evidence for evolution is at least as strong as the evidence for the Holocaust, even allowing for eyewitnesses to the Holocaust. It is the plain truth that we are cousins of chimpanzees, somewhat more distant cousins of monkeys, more distant cousins still of aardvarks and manatees, yet more distant cousins of bananas and turnips. Continue the list as long as desired.
Think about that for just a second. Here he is suggesting that you and I are the distant cousins of bananas and turnips, and if you don't believe that, you're stupid, wicked, or insane. And he's saying that Darwinian evolution is an established fact. He is saying that inequality within the races is an established fact. In other words, he's saying that there is a gradation of races. Remember, he's not just touting evolution in general, he's touting Darwinian evolution. And he is as aware as anyone else that Darwinian evolution postulates survival of favored races in the struggle for existence. Of course, that was the subtitle of his magnum opus. And he knows that Darwinian evolution postulates that the Caucasian race beat the Turkish Hollow in the struggle for existence. He knows that Darwin said, at no very distant date, an endless number of lower races will have been eliminated by higher, more civilized races throughout the world. So he understands that for evolution to succeed, it is as crucial that the unfit die as that the fittest survive. Because if the fittest would not survive because the unfit survived. The unfit could infect the fit with their less fit genes, rendering evolution inoperable. So he is the latest militant purveyor of inequality and says to believe in the Christian, the biblical position of equality, is ignorant, wicked, stupid, or insane. No doubt, since he is touting Darwinian evolution, he is well aware of Darwin's statement in which he says that women could never attain to the intellectual prowess of a man. In that sense, he is well aware of sexism. And yet here we are in the 21st century, and he's touting Darwinian evolution and saying that any theologian that doesn't buy it or believe it is ignorant. And he's saying that there's an insidious move afoot which is trying to destroy the edifice of evolution. Well, the fact of the matter is, nobody's trying to destroy evolution. Evolution is crumbling because we now, Mr. Dawkins, live in an age of scientific enlightenment. We now know that a fertilized human egg is not merely a microscopic blob of jello. It is among the most complex ordered structures in the entire known universe. So we're no longer in 19th century science, Richard Dawkins. We're in the 21st century. And because we are, evolution is crumbling under the weight of evidence. There is no real evidence for his ape-to-man icon. That's a dogmatic declaration. It's not a defensible argument. The icon has become the argument. Again, we should be able to question that which does not appear in the book of nature, which is the odd predilection of people like Charles Darwin and his new Rottweiler, Richard Dawkins. You know, of course, Darwin has had a lot of dogs. He's had his bulldog, Thomas Huxley. And Sir Thomas Huxley very plainly said that no intelligent person thinks that the average Negro is intelligent as a white person, and that the Negro would lose in a battle that's carried on by thoughts and not by bites. In other words, he carried on the racist idea of inequality suggested by his mentor, Charles Darwin. And now in the 21st century, you could give maybe a pass to Thomas Huxley. He's a 19th century guy. But Dawkins in the 21st century is carrying on the legacy and now wants us to believe not only that nothing produced everything, but that we evolved from turnips. It's simply amazing to me. But I've said this many times, pagans are going to exercise their job description. They're going to march lockstep, unthinkingly, into the abyss. That's not the problem. The problem is Christians who do not have an answer to Richard Dawkins, do not have an answer when Richard Dawkins says, and I don't know if we can play this clip, when Richard Dawkins suggests that a woman reproduces the evolutionary process. Ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. Basically, the idea that the emerging embryo goes through all the evolutionary processes. Here's how he puts it.
That irascible genius J.B.S. Haldane, who did so much else besides being one of the three leading architects of neo-Darwinism, was once challenged by a lady after a public lecture. It's a word-of-mouth anecdote, and John Maynard Smith is sadly not available to confirm the exact words, but this is approximately how the exchange went.
Professor Haldane, even given the billions of years that you say were available for evolution, I simply cannot believe it is possible to go from a single cell to a complicated human body with its trillions of cells organized into bones and muscles and nerves, a heart that pumps without ceasing for decades, miles and miles of blood vessels and kidney tubules, and a brain capable of thinking and talking and feeling.
But, madam, you did it yourself, and it only took you 9 months.
And he calls that irascible genius? I mean, this is a plain old, simple category mistake. First, life is not front-loaded to become all that life is. It has to gain information along the way over billions of years. Conversely, a conceptus or a zygote contains chemical instructions that would fill more than 500,000 printed pages. In other words, it's front-loaded. Every aspect of the developing embryo, from height to hair color, is included in that genetic library. So there's a plain old category mistake. He trots it out, and he calls it irascible genius, and the gullible buy it. He gets millions of dollars on an advance on a book, puts it out, and here you have it, an ironclad case for evolution against intelligent design. And by the way, he does believe in intelligent design. He doesn't call it that, but he does. When he's pressed with respect to the issue of where life comes from in the first place, what does he say? Well, first of all, he sweats, and then he stumbles, and then he slips all over himself, and finally says, well, maybe it came from extraterrestrials. So he believes in intelligent design of a different sort. He simply doesn't have an answer to the most basic questions, but yet he has come up with an ironclad case for evolution. And anyone that doesn't believe it is stupid, insane, wicked, or worse. Well, again, pagans are going to exercise their job description. They're going to be pagans. And the question is, are you as a Christian going to exercise your job description?